But yeah, I'm excited. Got Eden here with me, and we're going to be talking all things systems and strategy and soul, and I am very excited for this
I'm also very
conversation.
excited. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
I
So
know.
I'm
Yeah.
happy any day that I get to
Yeah.
talk about this.
Sweet. Sweet. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get started. Well,
Yeah.
Eden, welcome to the podcast. I am very excited to chat today. I know we were just talking about this before officially starting the podcast, but yeah, I'm excited about this topic: systems and strategy and soul. It's just one. I love alliteration. Any time I can like break out the thesaurus and figure out some words that all start with the same letter, I'm like, this is going to be good. Which probably pushes back like launching courses and products and stuff because I'm like, I need to figure out some sort of alliteration for this.
Okay. And
Yeah.
alliteration is always my go-to for naming things. Like I'm like,
Yes.
how can I make these all start with
Even if it doesn't really make sense, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go with this. Yeah. And then be like colon marketing course. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, thanks for being on the show. I'm excited to chat today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, give us a little background about you, where you're based, all the stuff that you do.
Yeah, so I'm Eden, and I am a former destination wedding photographer now. I do business coaching and consulting for creative entrepreneurs and photographers. And when I first started my business several years ago now, I was based in Utah. That's kind of how I fell into weddings in the first place. And now I live in Brooklyn. So living a very different life than I was several years ago.
Yeah,
but
totally different scene there.
very different scene. Yes, I'm a very different person, different business. But yeah, now I live in New York City, so I get to work alongside a lot of creatives here, which is really, really cool. A lot of creatives that are really dedicated to also like the business side of being a business owner and creative, which I feel like that can sometimes get a bad rap, which is why I love talking about system strategy and soul.
Yes.
Because it's kind of a thing everyone's terrified of, and it's one of my favorite things because it gives us the ability to run our businesses like CEOs rather than paper pushing employees. And that's kind of like at the foundation of everything within my business is I think that creatives should have beautiful, fulfilling businesses, but they should not be the end destination. They should be like tools for a beautiful life. And so I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs kind of push back past that hustle mentality, like let's earn six figures and die trying,
Right.
kind of trend that we've seen for the last quite a while,
Oh
and
yeah.
instead build businesses that work for them.
Yeah, I love that. I am also I remember when like that hustle culture was just everything. Good like probably 5 years ago or so, where everything was hustle. All of the back to course names and stuff. Everything was just like hustle this and building your side hustle and all of those things. And just like I don't want to hustle anymore. Like I want to create a successful business to where I can have the life that I want. And I love that. I definitely resonate with you there. And I have been loving. Once you booked this, I was like, oh wait, she's got a podcast. I'm gonna go listen, and I've just like been binging your podcast. Which, by the way, listeners, you should check it out because it's called "That's My Personal Business," right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go check it out. Very very like laid back, kind of just like chatting with a friend type feel. Which is my favorite for podcasts.
Same.
I don't like the straight up like, all right, and these are the 5 things that we're going to talk about today. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I'm like, we have episodes like that, but even still, it is like so intertwined with nonsense.
Yeah. And yeah, so I love that. And you've also been on a lot of my friends' podcasts lately. So I'm like, oh, cool. I get to like know Eden a little bit more, like listening to like Nathan Jansky and Rachel Traxler. And I was just like, they're great. And
yeah, they were so lovely.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to finally meet you now.
I know.
Everyone, it's so fun.
It's fun. But yeah, well, yeah, I love that is a focus of your education to not just be that, because I feel like that 6-figure goal line is it's something to run toward, but also there's so much more than that. And I feel like a lot of people just hustle, hustle, hustle to hit that six figures, and just you get burnout. A lot of people get burnout once you get there, or you're there and then you're just stuck. And it's like, I have so much work to do now because I've
Yes.
pushed myself to get here.
Well, I think that's like six figures is like really, it's like a pretty figure. It really is just like
Yeah.
this kind of like hot catchphrase that we have in the industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas no one, well, we are talking about it now, but for a while it was like, well, what's going into six figures? Like, are you working 90 hours a week? Because like that's not fun. That's not
No.
worth it. That's, you might as well go back to corporate at that point.
Yeah.
Like what does your lifestyle need, right? Like where do you live? How much money do you need? Do you have a family? Like what stage of life are you in? Like I always tell people, I'm like 100K to me when I lived in Utah, woof, amazing,
Oh.
flawless. I was living like so lovely.
Oh yeah.
I owned a home, had a big savings account. Like it was great. Six figures, even just cap at six figures, 100K in Utah was amazing. I live in Brooklyn now. Like 100K is
Yeah.
you have to make at least 100K to even
Right.
like survive here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like a really big push for me to change the way that I move around in my business, because sometimes I work like, or I like working a lot, and sometimes usually I take the summers pretty much off, other than my one-on-one coaching and consulting clients. Like I still coach and talk to them, but other than that, I like kind of clocking out. Like I like being like a kid who has summers off, basically.
Right.
My life purpose. But
Yeah.
so I had to find ways to be like, okay, how do I make as much money as I made before, actually more though, and still not change the way that I want to work, even though, you know, my cost of living is like 5 times more than it was where I lived before. So I think it's important for people to sit down and be like, yeah, what money do I need? What money do I want? What do I want my life to look like alongside that? Because yeah, it's easy to make 100K. If you
Mm-hmm.
shot 100 weddings at $1,000, you just shoot
Right.
double headers every weekend, and you'll be dying, but you'll have made 100K.
Yeah. Yeah, you will have a terrible quality of life, but
Yeah.
you'll hit that six-figure mark,
Mhm.
and you'll be able to check that off and be like, I'm a
Yeah.
six-figure photographer. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's so important to really assess where you are, and not like compare yourself to other people, because like I'm like a mid-sized town in
Mhm.
Texas, and 100K here goes a lot further than 100K in Brooklyn,
Oh
and
my gosh, I've
like
looked up houses
yeah.
in Texas. I wanted to cry. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I would live like a queen.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's why so many Californians are moving to like the Austin area, because Austin's got that like LA kind of vibe, and it's a tenth of the price for real estate there.
Mhm.
And then all the locals are just angry, but
I get that.
it's fine. But yeah, like it's very different in comparing yourself to other people, where they are, just the cost of living, and
Mhm.
in life. Like, you know, I've got 3 kids, and I want to spend time with them. I don't want to just hustle, 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 and then, you know, see them for like an hour a day.
Yeah.
And that's part of my dream life, is being able to work, provide for, you know, myself and the family, and then also get to go to baseball games, and also get to take my kids bowling and stuff like that. I'm like, this is the stuff that I live for, and I'm not going to live to work. I'm gonna
Mhm.
I'm gonna work and pay for what I love. So yeah, I just love that. Yeah, nice little tangent to start things
Yeah.
off on.
It's always tangents. It's all tangents at the
Yes.
end of the day.
I love tangents. That's why I put it in the name of the podcast too, because I'm just like so many conversations just go off on tangents anyway. I'm like, that's where a lot of the like the good stuff is
Yeah.
there in those tangents, the
Absolutely.
unexpected things. So there's a question that I really love asking is, has there been something over like a lesson, or some advice that you've gotten over the years that really just like changed the way that you look at life or business or anything like that?
I'm trying to think. I have an experience that comes to mind,
Cool.
but I don't necessarily. I'm
That
like, we can
works.
think for a second on advice if that's like
Yeah. Experience is good too. Anything that's
Okay,
really just been
cool.
like that aha moment of, oh, this changes things.
Yeah, so my funny because I'm like 3 years removed from it now. So I this story is like such a big part of my business because it really is like one what changed my life personally, my business. Like it
Mm.
was kind of my big life moment, and I had it pretty young. I had it at 23, 24. But at 23, I was 24. I got a divorce, and I was raised Mormon in Utah, so I got married really, really young.
Uh-huh.
And I had been married 4 years. I was the sole provider. I paid for my ex's school. I paid for a really beautiful life. I of things. And so because I was a sole provider and I was needing to pay for so many things in cash, I scaled my business really, really quickly. And I did the hustle thing. Like
Yeah.
I remember I call it like my 2017 year. I shot 40 weddings in 1 year, 10 of which were in June, and four of those I think were out of state. So I was shooting like triple
Oh
headers. Like
wow.
it was
Yeah.
crazy. And I was I was doing it. Like I had a six-figure business, but like I was in shambles. Um and when I got my divorce, I lost a lot in my divorce. I lost like almost all my assets. I kept the
Mm.
house since I had bought it myself, but I'd only been in it for 11 months, so I had to sell it. Obviously got, no money from that because I was only in it for 11 months.
Right.
Um, 0 out of 10 recommend buying a house when you're not in a good relationship. Don't do that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, but obviously, like my life just kind of like I call it like my rock bottom. Like I lost everything. I lost a 6-year relationship. I lost everything basically but my home. I lost basically everything but my business. My bank account was wiped clean. I remember I had $100 left in my bank account at one point.
Oh
Like
man. Yeah.
is desolate. And the week that I asked my partner to move out of the house, I launched a passive income course. I launched my indoor and artificial lighting course. And within the next 8 weeks, I earned $40,000.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I
That was
had
a
like
good
a
launch.
40K launch. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I'd never done before. I was really new to education as well. And that launch and my business are like really what gave me the ability to take my life back and to like start again. Like I lost everything. And I ended up moving to LA. Ended up moving the week the pandemic happened. Great timing on that.
Great timing. Yeah.
Solid timing.
Yeah. I feel like
So
Utah probably would have been much more open to like, oh yeah, you can still go to restaurants and stuff.
yeah, no, I had signed on my lease in January and I moved into my apartment the day the LA home order came out. So I
Oh
was living
wow.
alone.
Oh
And
man.
so, yeah, I spent the next several months completely alone after being in a 6-year like relationship. And now also with all my weddings canceled and rescheduled. And like, it was just this moment of like, I know everyone did a lot of introspection, obviously, during early quarantine days, but I'm like, I was doing a lot.
Yeah. You were like, I am only introspective right
And
now.
like literally we're doing like 10 years of therapy and processing in 2 months alone in a new state
Yes.
and city. So,
Oh.
but I really had this opportunity to kind of like sit back and be like, one, what do I want to do with my life now? Like, I don't have any idea what I'm going to do with my life now. But also like, what do I want to do with my business? Like I've been working myself to the bone for like years and years and years to supply for two people,
Yeah.
and to pay for my ex's school and pay for everything. And like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I can't keep going like that. And that was literally like ripped from my hands by the pandemic because I had like, I think I ended up shooting like one wedding that year or two or something. But
Mm-hmm.
it was really this like clean slate, rock bottom, whatever you want to call it, but where I was just like, okay, like we have to rebuild everything, so let's rebuild it the right way. Like let's not start hustling again. let's
Yeah.
let's really align with what we're called to. Let's figure out what we love again and what we want to help with and what we want to bring to this world as a human and an artist, and let's do it in a way that's actually sustainable. Let's do it in a way that we're not shooting 10 weddings a month and 4 of those are out of state. So yeah, that was really my opportunity to like take a look at my life in so many ways. Obviously, I hope people don't have to get a divorce right as a global pandemic happens to like learn this lesson, but like
Yes.
it was this moment of like, okay, like if we're going to rebuild from the ground up, let's make it something that we actually love and feel good about.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that is so much going on all
Yeah,
at the
so many
same
tangents
same
today. Sorry.
times. Yeah. And like one thing that I'm thinking of, like, for like you said, hopefully you don't have to, people listeners don't have to get a divorce during a pandemic and all that, um, to really find this place. And that's one of the things that I love about podcast and education, and like you sharing your story, is that that gives the listener the ability to really have that introspection now without having all of that going on in their
Mm-hmm.
lives. And you don't have to get thrown into rock bottom, to really start looking at, like, do I want to hustle? Do I want to
Mm-hmm.
shoot 10 weddings in a month where I'm traveling all over the place and just have 15 minutes in an entire month to be able to stop and sleep and eat?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's so much. Um, and 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 it's, I don't know, I feel like that's, for a lot of us, that is the time that we have, once we hit that burnout, or once we hit rock bottom or something, that's whenever we have that ability to be like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and figure out how to build this back and build it back better, to where you're
Mm-hmm.
not building up like, okay, I'm going to go hustle and book all this stuff again. Because also, like, I got so burnt out in 2017, 2018, where I was shooting 40 something weddings a year and was hardly making anything. Like, I was making like maybe 50, 60 grand off of
Jeez,
40
yeah.
weddings. And part of that was the market, part of that was, um, I was undervaluing myself a ton, and then, like, getting to sit and learn, and just learn from other people and be like, okay, is this what I want to do? Is this the hustle that I want to keep going out there shooting double and triple header weekends for pennies, or restructure everything? And I think that's really, it's something that's a little bit scary for a lot of people, to really go out there
Yeah.
and restructure stuff. Which I know that, like, I mean, what we're going to be talking about with, like, systems
Mm-hmm.
and structure and all of that, really helps, put that footing down. Are there like some structure or some systems in, uh, just like a normal photography business, that people may not realize, or even systems that they can use?
Yeah, I think like what is fun and like can be daunting, it's twofold, but like is
Uh,
that basically everything you do in your business can fit into a system in some sense, in the fact that like you're probably doing there's pretty rarely something you're doing in your business that you are never going to do again, or like only are going to do every once in a while. Like your client workflows, that's a system. And like your clients
mhm.
should be following kind of like a series of checkpoints every time. Same with like your financial systems, right? Like even if that's just that you're sitting down monthly and keeping track of your bookkeeping and then making sure that you put aside 27% for taxes, like whatever it may be. Um, phone calls, actual sessions, guides that you send them, even email templates, like all of these are technically systems. And before you dive into the systems, I'll say what I always recommend for business owners is looking at this goal first. Because I think this kind of even goes back to what we were first talking about, where it's like your business should be fulfilling, not only for you financially, but you personally, you emotionally. It should also provide for a life that is fulfilling in those ways. And so sitting down with yourself and being like, what do I want to bring to the table as an artist, as a human? What do I want my life to look like outside of this business? What do I want my client relationships and experience to look like within the business? Like, get really, really clear on that first, because that's what you're going to build the systems and strategy around. It's kind of like the
Mhm.
foundation. Your soul and your brand should be at the foundation of your business so that they bleed into everything you do, right? If you're really personable and friendly and extroverted, that's probably naturally going to be a part of your brand, and that can then be a part of your workflows. Maybe you always go get coffee before a session, and that's just like a part of your workflow. That's a part of your client systems. But like really, really get honed in on your personality, what you want to bring to the table, a human, as an artist, as whatever it may be, and then start building the systems and strategy around that. But the first thing that I recommend when it comes to like building out your own systems is like sit down and like brain dump everything that you do in your business. And it's going to look
Yeah.
really scary at first. Like,
Yeah.
let me be it's going to look terrifying, but
This
try
is
not to
pages and pages of things.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, I'm like, write it down. Like, write it down, like, down to Instagram stories, whatever it is, and then sort it. Sort it into two different ways. Sort it one by things that need to be done like daily, weekly, monthly, or as needed, right? Like, an as needed would be like filing taxes, updating
Right.
your website. Like, those are
Yeah.
done, either quarterly, whatever you want it to be.
Hmm.
Um, but you'll be surprised how little things need to be done daily. Like it's usually like emails, post on Instagram if you don't have that automated. If you have a shoot, editing, that kind of thing. But then also look at that list and be like, what do I do repeatedly? Because repetition is the opportunity for automation. Every time you see something getting repeated, that's an opportunity for a system. That's an
Mm.
opportunity for something to be automated or simplified or if your message I can go on and on about this, so literally tell me to like stop blabbering it into the mic, but like
Let's go on and on. I love
yeah, like but
it.
it's like you've gotta think like there's so many like your clients are basically you're doing the same thing for them on paper every single time. And
Hmm.
that doesn't mean you have to make their experience not personal and tailored to them, but like in what ways can you make things simpler and therefore serve them better because you have more time and energy outside of just like moving the needle constantly. Like if you are sending the same email to every single one of your clients with location ideas, make that a PDF. If you're basically saying the same thing every time you get an inquiry, make it a template and just tweak it a little bit every time you get that inquiry to personalize it.
Yeah.
Um, if you find that you have certain content that performs really, really well on your social media, make it a system that you go in once a month and you collect that data and you see how you can repurpose it. Like there's so many ways to bring in these systems because your business is it's a lot more like cyclical than you realize. And once you're able to kind of brain dump all of that on paper, it gets a little bit more obvious. And you're like, oh, yeah, I do that. Like every day or every week or every month. Like how can I make that simpler for myself?
Yeah, I think that's really important because like just dumping everything down in front of you to where you can actually visualize it. Because I'm a visual learner, I'm a visual like hands-on type person, and dumping everything down because I did that where I went through item by item from beginning of the client experience to the end, and I was like, there's like 190 steps in here. This is insane. But like as creatives, we often boast about like, well, every client is very different and everyone is unique and everyone gets these different experiences. So I can't like automate this kind of stuff because it might be different for this one than this other one. But whenever you dump everything down, you're like, actually these things over here, I'm doing with every single client.
Mhm.
And inquiries, they're all coming in the same way, so you're responding to every single one of them. So having a template saves you so much time. Like my responses to inquiries now are like 20-30 seconds tops because I've got the template. I know where to put in the personal little details to make it feel like I wrote this whole thing, and then schedule it for 5 minutes from now so it doesn't seem like it's so much of a template right
Like
whenever it comes in.
quite an
Yeah.
automated. No,
Yeah.
truly, but like and even beyond that, right? Like I think one of my favorite things to tell people to automate is I'm like, please, even if you don't want to use a CRM, like get a Calendly because I'm like, do you know how much time
Yeah.
you've wasted going back and forth on emails on to find a meeting
It's
time?
the
Like
worst. It is so bad.
was your least
Just,
favorite thing. That was
are
like
you
the most
available
important thing.
next Tuesday at this time? Oh no, I'm not available then. I could do Thursday. And like, just
You
here's my
wasted so
calendar.
much time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having that transformed my business.
Oh,
Getting
it's
Calendly.
low key my favorite thing about having a CRM. I know that
Oh
there's
yeah.
way better things that a CRM offers, but like that one specifically, I just like I
Yes.
love being like you just book one works for you. Like
Uh-huh.
you do what you need and I'll see you there.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing, like, I didn't do that for the longest time because I'd had other friends who had set up calendars, and I was like, I don't know, like, I want to be flexible to my clients. I don't want to nail down like I'm only available like Tuesday evenings or Friday mornings or something. And it wasn't until I realized, like, oh, if they go through my calendar and then they say they can't find anything, then I can say, well, I could actually fit you in Friday morning, but I'm putting down what is normally available for me, and then they usually make that work.
Absolutely. I feel like it
Yeah.
turns you into, right? Like we've all heard the comparison of, a client comes to you, for example, and is like, hey, I can't pay you. Like, I'm not getting paid weeks, so I'm going to have to pay you late, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do that to their cell phone provider. They're not going to do that to their utilities company. They're not going to do any of that. Like, I remember I have
Yep.
this friend, and she told me that one time she didn't collect a payment before a wedding, and the mom of the bride came up to her at the wedding. It was like the remainder of the payment.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom of like the bride or one of them came up to her and was like, "Hey, sorry, we actually like decided to last minute buy a house. So we're going to be a couple months late on our payment." And she was already there. And I
Yeah.
was like, "That's so messed up." Like, they would
Yeah.
never do that to, like, their utilities company, their bank, whatever it is. And I found that, like, the more structured you can make your business, the more people respect it like an actual business. And I
Yes.
weirdly found that hours is one of, like, the first ways you can give that impression of, like, these are the dates I'm available. And that doesn't mean you can't break your own rules. You're the boss. Like you said, they're
Mm-hmm.
literally never available. Like, I've worked with clients who are like, doctors or lawyers and they have weird schedules.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
make it work. But giving them just this, like, hey, this is when we're available, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that usually
And
people will make it work.
yeah, usually they make it work. And if they can't because they have, odd hours for their job, they'll either one be upfront with you and be like, hey, we've got weird schedules. So
Mhm.
like I've had a couple like truckers or like late night into the morning nurses that have
Mhm.
been clients before, and they're like, yeah, my schedule's all weird. So I was like, that's cool, I can work with you.
We'll make it
uh,
work. Yeah.
but yeah, I think you're totally right about having that structure sets you apart as more of a professional than just like, oh yeah, you're just like a friend that I can
Mhm.
be like, oh, well, let's work on my terms. Even though you're the business, I'm going to tell you when I want to do this, and then the customer is always right type deal of like, no, I want Wednesday night, and you're
Mhm.
going to have to fit that into your schedule. So yeah, it definitely sets you more as a professional, more of a business, and even subconsciously they respect more of those hard boundaries of
Mhm.
this is when I'm available, this is when you can book. Even with like when I respond to emails, like having those hours of like 9 to 4.
Mhm.
After 4, don't expect an email from me until 9 o'clock tomorrow. I may send some emails at like 10 o'clock while I'm finishing up some editing or something, but don't
Yeah.
expect it.
No, exactly. I think it also really it gives you a good insight into if someone's actually like an ideal client with you as well. Like for
Mhm.
example, I mean, you've probably seen it as we've emailed. We always have an automatic responder on that's like, hey, sometimes we take up to 72 hours to get back to you. And like
Yeah.
that's because I don't like I like my personal time. I like my team having personal time. Like it's
Mhm.
really important to me that we are not glued to our screens 24/7.
Yeah. You're not living in
Um
your inbox.
yeah, no. And like it's very rare, but if someone was to ever be like, "Hey, that's like," if they're inquiring with us and they're like, "Hey, that's
Mhm.
unacceptable. I need a faster turnaround time." I would just be like, "Oh, that's totally fine that you need that, but someone else is going to have to help you because it's not going to be me. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to be changing my entire life and business structure. So, it's okay if you need that, but it's just not going to be me who gives it
Yeah.
to you."
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to be the 20-minute turnaround type
No.
person. And
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's those setting those boundaries like really gives you more freedom, which
Mhm.
seems counterintuitive whenever
Mhm.
you think about boundaries like confining you, but
Mhm.
it gives you that freedom to be like, if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. There is someone else out there, and and there is someone who will be a better fit because you're going to
Yes.
be frustrated every time that you email me. But also, like, I love that that automatic responder of like, hey, I'm going to get back to you, 48 to 20 or 72 hours.
Mhm.
That sets those expectations with your clients and with the leads to where they're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, I don't need to sit around waiting for this response to come in the next day, although it may.
Yeah,
But
it
you know,
could be a fun
um,
surprise.
yeah, it's like, okay, cool. I know that by Friday I should hear back. That's cool. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go on with my life and wait.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's so good. So with the like figuring out just like that dump of everything and seeing what can be automated, what is that those systems that you already have in place that you can really fine tune.
Mhm.
How can we take that and just like create a good strategy to push the business forward?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that, again, I know we touched on this in the beginning, but like business things can be really scary to people, especially creatives,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we're creatives for a
Yeah,
reason. Our
yeah.
brains don't usually like want to operate in the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so when I talk to people about their data, it usually really panics them. Like, I'm like, what
Yeah.
data are you using in your business day to day? Like, what are your strategies? And they're like, what?
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 Numbers,
Yeah.
analytics, what?
No, literally. And a lot of, a lot of people, and I always tell my coaching clients, I'm like, there's no wrong answer. Like, it's not like you're doing anything wrong. We're just going to
Yeah,
improve upon it. But like, what is your strategy and what is your data? Like, what's your data looking like? And a lot of people don't know or they don't look at it. And we are actually provided like a lot of data in our business. There's the obvious things, like Instagram analytics or Pinterest
mm-hmm.
analytics or things like that. But there's also a lot of opportunities to collect data. You can have that in your contact form of like where they found you. You can have Google Analytics. You can look at your reviews to see if there's something that they're really, really commonly touching on, right? Like, is it that you make them so comfortable and every single person is saying that? Or is it that like you gave them something that looks like an absolute art piece? Like, what is it that people are saying about you repeatedly?
Yeah.
But looking at that data, whether that's like what performs best, is there always a spike in sales when you talk about something in particular? Like, our team has tracked that like we never sell more coaching packages than when I talk about my personal life. Like that is what converts better than anything is like me showing you that I talk the talk and I walk the walk. Like I have a beautiful business, but I also like, you know, half of my like branding photos are me just like topless at beaches in Spain because that's what I like doing in my summers. Like
Yeah.
and that's really important for people to see that I'm like, yeah, you can run a really successful business. So when it comes to strategy, look at when you're getting increases in inquiries. Look at, what is being responded to the best. Um, don't hyper focus on vanity metrics like virality. Like I think virality is just so overhyped at this point. Like
Yes.
that's great if something is viral, but like, are you converting? Like, look at the days that you're actually selling things or booking things to see like what you did that day that could be making it go like that, right? Like, if you had a huge influx of inquiries one week, go to back to your socials and be like, did I do something differently that maybe pushed this?
Mm-hmm.
And keep track of that. Like, keep track of that data, whether that's in notes or maybe you have systems to keep track of those things, but like keep track of what people are actually responding to and what is having an ROI. Because if you're doing something over and over again that isn't actually helping you, like let's say it's not bringing in inquiries and it's taking a lot of time, there's no reason for you to be doing that. Just scrap it. That's time that you could have with your kids, have free
Yep.
time, have traveling. Like keep track of those things so that you can just get more strategic about showing up in the ways that work, and then you could scrap the things that don't work so it's not just wasted time.
Yes, yes, 100%. I am 100% for that. Like I remember, I was on that like post 3 times a day to Instagram train a few years ago, and I looked at my analytics. I looked at where my leads were coming in. I was like, I get a handful of leads coming in from Instagram. Most of my stuff comes from my blog and from Google.
Mm,
So why am I focusing 3 times a day trying to put all this stuff together for Instagram when that's not where the money is coming in? And it wasn't until I actually looked at the data and figured out where leads were coming in that I shifted and I was like, okay, this time that I'm doing like Instagram is just fun for me now. Like I
mhm.
do I do the stupid little reels and stuff that are just like I know this is gonna like land for 12 people. and everyone else is going to be like, I'll give them like a sympathy, double tap here. But but I'm like, yeah, I'm like, my people, they're gonna like this. Some sort of the office inside joke thing. Like, people are gonna get that. It's gonna be fun, and I'm going to enjoy making this. But I'm not gonna do that hustle again and put out a bunch of stuff that just falls flat because you get burnout doing that. But yeah, I think that is so important. So yeah, listener, if you do not know where your leads are coming in, like, that's another great thing about a CRM is like, I run that lead source report every quarter and just see, one, how many leads came in, what was my percentage of booking, and was it too high? Do I need to raise my prices? Was it too low? Do I need to work on my my discovery calls and how I'm actually responding to people? And it gives you a lot of information of how to move forward in your business and not just continue to do the same thing because you see other people saying Instagram is where it's at, TikTok is where it's at, post 5 times a day, and you just get overwhelmed with that. I'm like, no, social media is just a fun thing for me, and that's what I want to keep it as. It's just fun.
Well, and that's what we actually have, like, in case you don't know which social media works with your personality, we have like a whole free intuitive marketing quiz that I always suggest to people because, like, at the end of the day, every marketing platform works. Like, Facebook ads work, Instagram works, blogging works, SEO works. They all work. But that means you don't have to do all of them. Like, when you log in and someone's like, this is what you need to do to make 6 figures, it's like, no, that worked for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone. And the plus side of that is that, like, yeah, you can just choose what's going to be fun for you. Focus on that. Like, if there are platforms that you don't like if you don't like making 5 videos a day, please don't start a TikTok. Like, don't do that. You're going to hate it. It's going to be miserable for you.
Yeah. And then it's going to suck all of your time because you're just going to be scrolling, watching everyone else's, and like, this is research.
Researching. I'm on the clock. But yeah, no, I think it's important to, again, that's like kind of where the soul comes in, of just like, have check-ins with yourself on what is actually enjoyable. Because if you're not enjoying your job and you're self-employed, you should just go back to the office. Like, that's kind of if my like business ever becomes something, which I won't let it, but hypothetically, if my business became something I hated, catch me getting like PTO and healthcare like included in my job and just going back to the office, because like, if I hate my job, I might as well hate it with benefits. Like, that seems silly to be self-employed and hate your job.
Yeah. And not have to think about your business outside of the working hours. It's like, that is one thing that I do miss about a 9 to 5 is like, I never thought about my 9 to 5 after 5 o'clock. I was like, I know that I have to wake up in the morning and go back to work, but I'm not thinking about how can I do this better and how can I find more people to work with. I'm like, I will show up and the work will be there. And but I love what I do, and I'm like you. I'm like, I am not going to let this become something that I hate. And I think that like our businesses evolve with us, and that is really important to not get stuck in, well, this is how I've been doing it for the last 5 years, so this is what my business is, like it or not. It's like, you're the boss. You can change things.
Literally, boss, you can change it. Which is fun.
Yeah. And I think that's really a really good point of something that's maybe overlooked sometimes is having that soul as part of your business strategy and making sure that what you're pushing toward is what you actually want. If you don't need 6 figures, if you're living in a place where like 60K is more than enough and you don't have to kill yourself to hit 6 figures and to have that status, then figure out what you love and what your like ideal life would look like, and then just push for that and create those strategies and everything. So Eden, this has been so good. I have loved all of
Thanks
this.
so much for coming on. Thank you. That's me having a podcast and just naturally saying thanks for coming on. Thank you for having me.
I have almost said that a few times being on other podcasts.
I've always worried I was going to say it, and I did. The day is
well, I am glad to come on the show today and get to talk to you. uh, but yeah, thanks so much for being here. This was really great. Before we kind of wrap up and let people know where to follow you and all that, what is something that you're loving this week? It could be literally anything, a book or movie or something that you saw recently, or just a new houseplant.
Ooh, great question. I launched a new business yesterday, which I'm very excited about. That is what I'm currently
Nice.
loving. um,
Yeah, that
on a
is
big
exciting.
scale, on a small scale, I antiqued these really cute little pig vases. I got two of them, and they like,
Ooh,
I'm like, can people see the video on this? I'm like, I could literally
yeah,
show you them because I keep them by my desk.
nice.
But they're like filled with tulips and they're just like little pigs.
Oh, that's
And their
cute.
mouth opens like a spout and they're my
Oh, that's cool.
favorite. And I have two of them. And then their spirit
I like the
animal.
just like really happy facial expression too. It's
And their
just
mouth is like a spout that the water comes out of. It's very
that's
cute.
that's perfect. Yeah,
That's mine. Those were the most random.
that's the
That was
best.
my
Yeah,
first gift.
I love that. I love finding like a good antique store or like thrift store where you find that those gems, because there's
Yes.
a lot of turds out there, but then you'll find like
Yes.
something that's just like, why is this even here? Like this
Hmm.
should be in a museum or something. This is amazing.
Absolutely. I can't
There've
say these
been
were museum level pieces, but I
yeah,
do
but
love
still
finding a good piece
they
of
yeah
advice.
they fit your aesthetic
Yes,
perfectly.
I'm very happy with them. They're very fun.
Well, nice, very cool. Let's see. Okay, I'm loving this week. I've been I've been traveling a lot this month, or I guess last month now, in
Yeah.
April, and so I'm back to primary parent duties and cleaning around the house and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So as I wash dishes, I watch movies for like 20-minute little segments. And I'm a big horror movie fan. One of my favorites is a movie called Orphan, because it's like I don't love like the slasher type horror movies. I love the ones with like the crazy plot twists and
Mm,
just like anything that can make me just be like, wait, what just happened? Like I did not see that coming. Those are my favorite movies, no matter what genre.
it's not
And
horror, but have you watched Gone Girl?
I have not. I have needed to. The book was amazing,
Oh, you've
and
seen the book. Okay, so you know the plot twist. Okay,
yes,
that's I
yeah,
love that
but
movie.
also like I want to see, because isn't it Ben Affleck? Isn't he
It's
the
Ben Affleck and I just forgot her name, which sucks because she's
yeah?
amazing in it.
Because that was like what, like 10 years ago or something, and she's
How
now
old now? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is.
a really
It's
big
Rosamund
star.
Pike. It's Rosamund
Yes,
Pike.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I need to watch that.
Watch that one. It's amazing.
Yes, I'll do that one next. But yeah, so Orphan is one of my favorite kind of horror thriller movies,
Mhm.
because of the plot twist, and they did a prequel called The Orphan colon the first kill or something, and without spoiling the first movie, it was good. I wondered if it was going to be as good, which I don't think it was
Mhm.
as good, but there was still a good plot twist in this one. Obviously, not as big as the first one, for those that are in the know of what was going on. But yeah, it was a good one. I enjoyed it. It was a nice little,
Nice.
over a couple of days watching it. But yeah, I need to watch Gone Girl. I
Yeah.
think
Put that on
it's
your
on
list.
my yeah. I know it's on one of the many streaming platforms that I'm subscribed to.
Yes, I'm like, I know it's on multiple, and that's my favorite movie. I think it's so good.
Yeah, yeah, I love the mind twisters
Mhm.
of just something different. Like one of my favorite movies is the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Mhm, mhm.
and just yeah,
So good.
all the things. But
Mhm.
okay, well, sweet. Well, Eden, where can people find you online? Where can they follow along and all the things?
Yes. So pretty straightforward. I'm Eden Strader on like everything. And my podcast is That's My Personal Business. But I always recommend starting either with the podcast or my website because we have a ton of freebies on there, like everything from learning art, like flash photography to Pinterest marketing to like we have wedding questionnaires. We have like so many freebies. I love our freebies. So I always suggest starting there to kind of dive in and yeah, the podcast as well.
Awesome. Well, cool. And I will have links to all that in the show notes for everyone. As yeah, so you can go follow and listen and all the things Eden. But
Thank
yeah,
you so much for having me, John.
absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, you too. Facebook, it was good to see y'all. See you for the next one. YouTube, you as well. And yeah, I'll